Here we have our stainless steel pressure reducing valves. You can see here I've got a 1-inch model in my hand. We've got a 1/2 inch, but we also do them all the way up to 2-inch. So they're full 316 stainless steel, so really good for air, water, any media that is compatible with stainless steel. And you've also got to consider the elastomer inside. So we are standardized with NBR, but we also have them available with FKM. So more aggressive media that would need FKM, or commonly known as Viton, we can do that as well. 2 spring ranges, 1 to 5 bar and 5 to 10 bar. So choose your spring range on your setting. Now the overpressure for this is 25 bar, but the setting range is what you pick. So either 1 to 5 or 5 to 10. A few things to note is the arrow with the direction of flow. That's on both sides of the unit. So this would be the inlet, that would be the outlet. And we have a gauge port, front and back. That's a 1/4 inch gauge port. We've set one up on our test rig here, but I don't have a gauge in the gauge port because we've got a bigger dialed gauge on the upstream and the downstream, so we can see it a little bit easier. But if you didn't have these, you would use a gauge in here and you can set your pressure. That would read your downstream pressure just by a gauge on the front, so very handy. The great thing about this unit is it's small and compact, so you can fit it in a tight space and you can set the pressure purely by the gauge on the front. So we've got ours here. We've got the compressor on, as you can probably hear in the background. We've got a little bit of draw elsewhere in the warehouse, so I hope it's not too noisy. But what we'll do is we'll go through and set this pressure. Now this, we've got a 5 to 10 bar pressure range spring in here, and currently our upstream pressure is 7 bar, 100 psi, 7 bar, 700 kPa, whatever you want to say. But what we're going to do is have a look at the difference once we turn it between the upstream pressure and the downstream pressure. At the moment, the pressures are the same. We've got downstream isolated. That helps to flood the vessel with pressure. We've got a very slight bleed off. That'll allow it, when we're taking the pressure down, to actually show a reflection of what we're doing, because the pressure can escape. So the first thing to do is to loosen the lock nut here on the unit. You can do that with just your hands. So we'll loosen that. Now on the top of the pressure reducing valve, you can see a negative and a positive. So it's the same. We would go anti-clockwise to loosen it off, or to the left of the thread, we would go right to increase the pressure clockwise. So you can see that just on there. The other thing we spoke about is this locking nut here. That's just hand tightened. To set the pressure up or down, you need to loosen this nut. You would then set your pressure, and once you're happy with where it sits, you would tighten that locking nut again. So we'll go ahead, we'll loosen this locking nut off, which I've already done, and we're going to take the pressure down on this one. So we're 7 bar or 700 kPa upstream. We're going to ease this one off. I've just got a shifter here. Now we're going to do a few turns in this. Now you should be able to see our downstream pressure come down. So we might try and set this one at 5 bar, which we've just got there. So you can see our inlet pressure is still 7 bar, our downstream pressure, or our outlet pressure, is now just below 5 bar actually. So this would be the bottom of what this spring range would do. I'll bring it back up a bit now. Say we wanted to set it at 6 bar. I'm just tightening this now. I'll come up a bit more. I'm just doing a half turn at a time here and monitoring my downstream pressure, or the outlet pressure. Come up a bit more. Just a little bit more is going to take it right to 6 bar. Now we're pretty close there. So you can go spend more time and get it more accurate, but once you're happy with where you've set it on the unit, we'll tighten this lock nut back up. So this is just a hand tighten here. Once we've tightened that, you can't turn this now because it's locked in position. And that's as simple as that. If you don't have the upstream and downstream gauges like we've got in our test rig, you can just put a gauge in the port. Now you've got to port both sides depending on your orientation. The major things to look for is direction of flow. We've got the arrow, that gives you your inlet and outlet. You can then, once you've got the unit sealed, you can adjust your pressure to what you want. If you don't have the downstream gauge, you can use the gauge port on the unit here.